The Broncos just gave us our clearest look yet at what they want to build at Burnham Yard, but stick around because we're going to attempt to answer the bigger question: what happens to the 80 acres at Mile High when the Broncos leave? So let's dive in. For decades, Mile High and now Empower Field have been surrounded by massive parking lots. Great on game day, mostly empty the rest of the year. The Broncos want something very different at Burnham Yard. The team just released updated plans for the historic rail yard south of downtown. And important distinction, these aren't the final stadium renderings. Manica Architecture was just selected to design that. What we're seeing now is the neighborhood around it. The plan includes 4 districts: North End, Village Center, Turntable, South End. Housing, restaurants, retail, parks, public spaces. The Turntable even incorporates the site's railroad history into a major public space. The goal is simple: give people a reason to be here when there's no game. Less like a stadium complex and more like a whole new neighborhood anchored by a stadium. The plans connect to light rail, pedestrian trails, and the Mile High line with more green space throughout. And the Broncos say this latest version reflects months of community feedback. Where it gets bigger than football, Burnham Yard sits just south of downtown near Transit, I-25, South Platte, and what's happening around Ball Arena and other nearby redevelopment sites, and a huge piece of central Denver could look completely different a decade from now. But there's still that other question. So what actually happens then to the Mile High? When the Broncos leave, the stadium and surrounding parking lots, roughly 80 acres, goes back to the city of Denver. Right now, there's no final plan. That comes through a future community planning process. But think about what's possible: housing and mixed-use development across those massive parking lots, new parks and public space, better connections between Sun Valley, Jefferson Park, Colfax, South Platte, and downtown. And here's an interesting question: does Mile High itself even have to disappear? Could Denver keep the stadium for concerts, soccer, or college football, or major events while redeveloping the land around it? Or tear it down and completely rethink all 80 acres? None of that has been decided. But when Burnham Yard happens, Denver won't just be deciding where the Broncos play. It'll also be deciding what the next version of Mile High becomes. The Broncos are targeting 2031, with construction potentially starting in 2027, which is an aggressive timeline. There are still approvals, infrastructure work, and years of planning ahead. But we could be looking at 2 enormous redevelopment projects less than 2 miles apart. Burnham Yard becomes a new stadium neighborhood. Mile High becomes something completely different. So what would you do with those 80 acres? Keep the stadium, more housing, parks, a whole new neighborhood? Let me know in the comments. I'm Jason. Thanks for joining. Make sure to follow for more Denver.